What's the story, Morning Glory? What's the word, Hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this review of 90 Day Fiancé Before the 90 Days, Season 7, Episode 9, Things Fall Apart. Let's talk about Brian and Ingrid. So, Brian has been wanting to meet Ingrid's parents. Unfortunately, the day that they had arranged for him to meet her parents, Ingrid's father was not available. He was at work. And this made Brian feel some type of way because he thought that, the father would be looking forward to meeting him. And Ingrid even told us that her father is not in support of this relationship at all. And he used work as an excuse to not meet Brian. So the father wants nothing to do with this because he does not agree with how Brian and Ingrid met on the internet. He doesn't take this relationship very seriously. And then we'll learn more about why Ingrid's parents are not feeling Brian a little bit later on. So Ingrid's mom arrives. Okay, so she shows up at Ingrid's house. Brian presents her with a bag. I don't know if the bag was authentic. I don't know if the bag was a knockoff. I don't know if it was expensive or cheap. But the mom looked at it like it was absolute garbage. She took it, she turned it around, she looked at it, and she really wasn't impressed. I don't even remember if she said thank you. Did she even say thank you? I don't remember. So Brian introduces himself. He wants a hug. He wants to hug her instead of just shake her hand. The mom was like reluctantly willing to give him a hug, but she did. And Brian tries to have a conversation with her. He tries to have small talk with her. And the mom is not feeling it at all. Her body language, her facial expressions, her limited words indicated that she did not like Brian, that she did not agree with any of this, and she was going to let it be known that she wasn't going to try to hide it under fake politeness. So Brian is not sure if the mother is acting like this because he's in a wheelchair or if it's because he is a foreigner. Well, the mom, okay, so they get to the point where dinner is ready and Ingrid has arranged everything to eat outside on the patio. And she's asking her mom, hey, come join us. The food is ready. The mom said no. The mom said, no, I'm not hungry. And she stayed in the kitchen trying to find something to do in the kitchen, anything to avoid sitting with Brian and Ingrid. So Brian asked Ingrid while they're having dinner, like, what is going on here? Does your mom have a problem with me being in a wheelchair? Like, what is her problem? And Ingrid was like, no, I don't think that's the reason why. Well, the mother tells the producers because the producers ask her up front, why don't you like him? What's really going on here? And the mom says that her issue with Brian is that he is a foreigner. It's got nothing to do with him being in a wheelchair. She has no prejudices against people in wheelchairs, but because he's a foreigner and there's a possibility of Ingrid going away with him if the relationship does work out, that's what her and her husband have an issue with. They do not want Ingrid to leave Brazil. So later on, I think the mother explained to Brian what their problem was, or was it the mother or Ingrid? One of them explained to Brian that, I think it was Ingrid, that they are not, her parents are not in agreement with her dating someone who is not from Brazil and her possibly leaving the country. They're not in support of it. They don't want it to happen. So Brian is like, I don't understand. She's a grown woman. She's got kids. She's independent. I don't understand why her parents' influence can prevent her from running away with me. Like, I don't get it. He doesn't understand. But seeing Ingrid and her parents and that whole dynamic made me understand Thais and her parents a lot better, or her father a lot better. Because remember, in that season of 90 Day Fiance, Thais and Patrick, Thais didn't even want to tell her dad that she was coming to America to be with a man and to get married. Couldn't even tell her dad that. Now that I see how Ingrid's parents are, I'm beginning to understand Thais a little bit better. These Brazilian parents do not play around, and yeah, the mom was ice cold towards Brian, and she wasn't gonna be fake, and she wasn't gonna play around. And Ingrid even said that she felt bad for Brian because her mother was so rude to him. So now it's time for Ingrid to figure out what she's going to do. Is she going to choose, her parents, or is she going to choose Brian? Well, in real life, we know how it played out. In real life, from what I could what I could gather from, gathering little snippets of vlogs and stuff and blogs on the internet, they broke up in real life, and Brian was like calling her all kinds of horrible names online. Evidently, he's moved on to a whole nother girlfriend. He's been insulting her really bad online, calling her terrible names. I don't know if she is retaliating as well. I think she has responded just by defending herself, really, but I don't know if she's actually come out to attack him the way he's attacked her. Brian's a piece of work. Let's move on to Vanya and Bojo. So finally, Vanya makes it to Croatia. So when she gets to the airport, Bojo is there. He greets her with a plant that I think he said he found in a dumpster, if I'm not mistaken. And right from the airport, they go straight to a cooking class. And I was like, wow, Vanya must have a lot of energy because she's been on this ridiculously long flight. Okay, like a 24-hour flight or 24-hour flight basically. She missed one plane, had to wait for another plane. She's running up and down the airport in high heels. Okay. She finally makes it to Croatia, and then he takes her to a cooking class, like from the airport straight to the cooking class. She doesn't have time to change, do a quick wipe down, to take a breather, rest, none of that. It was straight to the cooking class. So they're in the cooking class, and there's other people there, and they're all talking, I guess, introducing themselves to each other. And I think the ones who are there with their partners are talking about how they met, how long they've been together. And when it gets to Vanya and Bojo, somebody had asked them, so, like, what are y'all? Or how are y'all officially together? Or what? And Bojo said, no, we are just friends. Now, Vanya has been telling us that there is a romantic connection between her and Bojo, that she is traveling all this distance to see him because she's thinking this is going to lead to a very serious relationship. She's not here just to hang out with a friend. She's here for potential romance and commitment. And so when Bojo tells the cooking class, hey, we're just friends, it hit her like a ton of bricks. And she was like, I would not have traveled all the way to Croatia just to, if we were just friends. Like, what are you talking about? So on their way to her apartment, because she's renting out an apartment for the next 3 weeks in Croatia, on their way to their apartment, it was silence in the car. They get to the apartment, they get to her room, and she presents them with whatever gifts that she had brought for him, which was some smushed up cookies and car air freshener, and so, which had their faces on it. So I guess it was really cute. So she's hoping that he's going to want to spend the night with her, right? Her first night in Croatia. So she offers him the couch. And he's like, no, thanks, but no thanks. I'll just go on home. And so Vanya was very confused. She's like, wow, he doesn't even want to spend the night with me, my very first night here. There's something going on with Bojo. Bojo is probably still stuck on that damn ex of his that he said was the biggest love of his life, that he had broken up with Vanya temporarily to go back and date her or to reconcile with her. He's probably still stuck on this ex. I just can't imagine someone traveling that far to be with you, and you can't even spend like 15 minutes with them in their apartment, like Bojo. I mean, it's like, clearly it seems like he has no interest in pursuing anything romantically with her. Clearly this trip is not as significant to him as it is to her. So yeah, we'll see how things work out. But yeah, I felt really bad for Vanya because she was really looking forward to some type of a spark being there, and Bojo is just not reciprocating. Moving on to Niles and Matilda. So Niles had just told Matilda that he has no intentions of marrying her on this trip. So Matilda was completely heartbroken. She's crying. They leave the little club that they were at, and they go back to the hotel. When they get to the hotel, no, on their way to the hotel, Niles asks Matilda, did you ever hear me say that I was ready to get married on this trip? And she was like, yeah, I did. This is the reason why I was planning a wedding, because you said that we were going to get married on this trip. And Niles was like, yeah, I don't remember ever letting you think, or ever saying to you that I was going to get married on this trip. So Niles said that he had told her so many times on the phone that he wasn't getting married on this trip. I don't know when that ever was because it's not anything that they showed us. In fact, they showed us the complete opposite. What they showed us before he left the United States, when they would talk on the phone, they would always show us Niles gearing up to tell her that he wasn't going to get married on this trip. But then when the conversation started, they would have an entire conversation on the phone, and he would never tell her that he had no intentions of getting married on this trip. He got too scared and he would chicken out. We definitely saw that. I'm pretty sure that if he had told her that he was getting married on this trip, it would have been on tape. It would have been recorded and we would have seen it. But he claims that he told her many times that he wasn't going to get married, and we saw that no times at all. We only saw him avoiding telling her that he didn't want to get married on this trip. So Niall says to us, Matilda thinks that I'm lying, and I understand how it can look like that. So the producers, they really corner him in his confessional. The producers are like, there were so many times that you could have told her that you didn't want to get married on this trip. You had several conversations with her on the phone. She was talking about this wedding. You knew that she was planning this wedding, and you never not once told her that you had no intentions of marrying her on this trip. So basically, bottom line, you led her to believe that y'all are going to be getting married on this trip. And we knew that he knew that she was planning for this wedding way before he even left for Ghana. So Niles says it's because he struggles with, social skills. And this is why it was difficult for him to tell her that. So I'm not exactly understanding where Niles is coming from, because in 1 minute Niles is, but I guess this is because he lacks social skills or doesn't understand social skills. That's why his stories are contradicting, because on the one hand he tells us that he did tell her that he had no intentions of getting married. On the other hand, he tells us that because he struggled with social skills, he couldn't tell her that he had no intentions of getting married on this trip. So because, he struggles with communication and expressing himself and getting his thoughts together and understanding social cues and other people to know how he should react, because he struggles with all of that, there's not much that we can say. There's not much that we can say. This is an issue that he struggles with his autism, and it is what it is. So he finally says that he understands that he had a chance to make things straight, but he didn't. He apologizes to Matilda, and Matilda wants to know, basically, when are we getting married then? When do you want to get married? If not this trip, then when? So he kind of like hems and haws and tries to beat around the bush. And she's like, no, 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 you don't understand. You're going to be doing the knocking ceremony. And we're supposed to be getting married right after the knocking ceremony. But if we can't do that on this trip, if you can't get married on this trip and we do the knocking ceremony, then you have to give my family a specific date of when we're going to get married. And Niles says that, well, I don't know what that date is. I have to go back to America. I have to look up my calendar. I have to move some things around. I got to figure this out when I get back home. So he tells her that he should have been a little bit more direct. Of course, she agrees with that. Matilda says that she understands that it's because of his autism that it makes it difficult for him to communicate clearly. So I'm glad that she sees that and that she understands that. And so now she knows how to deal with him. She knows what to expect and what not to expect in Niles, because now she understands, because of his autism, communication is going to be a real struggle for him. So she says, I just really want to make sure that you're going to come back and marry me. And Niles was like, this is the reason why I gave you the ring. The ring is my promise that we are going to get married, that I will be coming back. And so we'll see how that goes when the family finds out that there is no wedding on this trip. But I'm glad that Niles and Matilda communicated what the issues were. And Matilda is one smart cookie, because she understands how it is with Niles. And she's not using it against him. She is understanding him better, so she'll know how to move in the future. Let's move on to Renee and Chitty. First of all, I have been reading on the internet with Renee and Chitty that basically this relationship is fake. Chitty has said, through, I guess, I don't know, interviews or whatever, he has talked about how him and Renee did date for like a couple of years in the past. Then they broke up for a while. They were like broken up for like 3 years. Then she contacted him out of the blue to try to get him on the show. And basically they had to pretend that they were a couple again. And so he agreed to get on the show and to act like that they were a couple again for the sake of being on the show. I think that's what it was. If it wasn't that, then it was out of the blue. She reconnected with him and told him, I want to get on this show. Let's get back together. And maybe he genuinely wanted to get back together with her and at the same time do it on this show. But either way, they haven't been together like all of these years. Because the way that the show presented Chitty and Renee to us, it was as if they've been dating consistently for the past 5 years. They never told us that there was this huge gap in their relationship before we met them. And the other rumor, of course, is that she broke some NDA clause, and so they will not be at the tell-all. That's another rumor. I don't know how true that is. So Renee's at the hotel by herself. She says that Chitty is letting his family and his false faith come in between them. That kind of irritated me that she called his religion false faith. Like, how dare you judge him and the things that he believes in? Renee talks about how she has been let down in romantic relationships before. She talked about how the father of one of her kids left her when she was 3 months pregnant, how men have never committed to her. They've always ended up breaking her heart, etc., etc. So if the way she acts with Chitty is any indication of how she acts or how she's acted with men in her past, then Renee takes no accountability for her relationships in the past failing. Renee is like, what I've seen of Renee is like, I can understand why relationships are difficult for her because she is off the chain. I don't know how else to say it. She's completely off the chain. So she thought that this relationship with Chitty was going to be different. My interpretation of that, she thought that she could control this man because he had a disability. She thought that she was going to be able to control the narrative, control the situation, control him because he had a disability. And she was going to play on that disability to manipulate him into staying with her. That's what I think. So Victoria, Chitty's sister, she's having a conversation with Chitty about Renee. And Victoria's like, I don't think this is a good woman for you. I think she's horrible. But I understand that you care for her and you love her for some crazy, odd reason that none of us can make sense of. So if you want to be with her, I'm going to step out of the way and let you do you. I love you. I support you as my brother. I don't condone this relationship because I think this woman is horrible to you. But I'm not going to stand in your way if this is what you want to do. So we see Renee, and she tells us that she's been trying to get Chitty to come to the hotel with her. She's been begging him, calling him, texting him to come to the hotel with her, and that has been completely unsuccessful. Chitty meets up with a friend of his and to talk about Renee. So even the friend does not understand why Chitty is so into Renee. Okay, the friend who's never even met Renee, just from what Chitty has told him, the friend doesn't understand why Chitty is as into that woman as he is. And I know that Chitty probably presents her in the best light, in the most objective light. And still the friend is like, yeah, I don't really see it for you and her. So the friend says that he doesn't really care for her because from what Chitty said, Renee likes to talk about demons. She talks about demons. So the friend asks if he'll be able to handle her temperament, the way she is completely off the wall, her yelling, her shouting, her screaming, her cussing. Is this something that Chitty wants in his life? And Chitty's like, no, I don't want this in my life. I don't want her to be this way. I don't like it when she gets like that. I don't like it when she's yelling and screaming at me. But I have love for her. And I think the love that he has is whenever Renee is faking it and she's all sweet and lovable and, oh, Chitty, let's take a walk through the forest. Oh, Chitty, the monkeys are so cute. Oh, Chitty, do you hear that babbling brook? That's the Renee that he's fallen in love with, but that's not the real Renee. And because of the fact that she sees his blindness as a plus, it's not a hindrance like it would be for maybe other people might have an issue with dating a blind man. And because to her, she sees it as a positive thing in a really weird way, though, which is basically so he could be more dependent on her. He's maybe that's also something that like appeals to him. You know, he does think it's weird that she likes the fact that he's blind because it's a hindrance to him. But maybe the fact that she's embraced that, you know, when other people maybe haven't, maybe that's also what kind of got him to, you know, to have these feelings for her. So Chitty says, so the friend says, you know what? If it's not working out, and if you really do want her, if you really do love her, maybe it's best for you just to let her go, because it's not going to work out between the two of you. And Chitty agrees. Like, he totally sees that. He understands that. Like, yeah, I love her, but this is not going to work out between me and her. And it's just going to hurt both of us more at the end if we're not, truthful with ourselves now. Moving on to Tiger Lily and Adnan. So it's been 2 months since Tiger Lily has been back in the United States. She says that Adnan has been even more controlling since she's returned to America. And I'm like, how? How can someone control you even more when there's more distance between the two of you? It's because you want to be controlled. Tiger Lily, I think, likes this whole, a man telling her what to do and how to do it. I think she likes that. I think that's attractive to her. Because I just don't understand how someone can control you from thousands of miles away. But she says that he's even more controlling now than he ever was. So she goes to her hairdresser friend. I think his name is Cruz. She goes to her hairdresser friend, and she tells her hairdresser friend that, things have gotten worse with Adnan. He's gotten a whole lot more controlling. And the example that she gives on how much more controlling he is she says that she told him that she has been having some back pain and that she wants to go to a chiropractor. Well, Adnan did not know what a chiropractor was. So he looked it up. Instead of like Googling it, he looks it up on TikTok. Okay, so he looks it up on TikTok, and of course, TikTok is going to show you, all kinds of crazy stuff. There are some chiropractors on TikTok. There's one in particular. He's African American, and the way that he cracks these women's backs, it's a sight to see. It's extremely seductive. It's super uber sexy. It's like he's making love to these women, making love to their bones or something. But that's not the one that he saw. I don't know. Maybe Adon did see that. I don't know. But the one that Tiger Lily showed her friend was a lot more professional than what I've seen. Okay, a lot more professional than what I've seen of chiropractors on TikTok. So this one guy, he was just, doing what a chiropractor does, twisting this woman around, cracking her bones or whatever. He was just doing the kind of things that to me was normal compared to other things that I've seen on TikTok. So because he saw that video, Adnan was like, no, I forbid you to go to a chiropractor or to a male chiropractor. He wants you to go to a female chiropractor. I don't know what she ended up doing. If she mentioned it, I wasn't paying attention. So I don't know if she went to go see a male one, a female one, or none at all. I have no idea. But this is what she was talking about. So because of this, they got into an argument. The next day when he tried to call her or whatever, she refused to answer his calls. And he was so distraught about her not picking up the phone when he called that he got himself sick and he ended up in the hospital. And I'm just like, what? And you're falling for this, Tiger Lily? You're buying. You see, that's the kind of guy that is like, will be like, you know what? I'm just gonna end it if you leave me. I'm gonna end it. I'm just gonna end it all for myself. And y'all know what I'm saying, right? I'm just gonna end it all for myself if you leave me. If you leave me, if you walk out that door, I'm not gonna be here anymore. I'm just gonna, expire myself. That's what it sounds like those type of manipulative tactics. You ended up in the hospital. Like, what was wrong with him? Did he have like a nervous breakdown, an anxiety attack? Was it something more physical? Did he have like an upset stomach, a headache? Like, what was it that drove him to go to the hospital over the fact that she wasn't answering the phone? These people are weird. So the next day, she plans to meet with him in Turkey. She says there's a lot going on in Jordan. She didn't specify, so I don't know if it's what's currently going on right now in the Middle East or what. But she said that she is not going to be able to meet him in Jordan, so they're both going to meet in Turkey. And their plan is to make a baby before they even are living together. They want to make a baby. So they're on the plane. She's on the plane on her way to Turkey. And I guess she was looking through her social media or whatever. And she sees a story that Adnan had posted. And he was topless. He was shirtless in his Instagram stories or whatever it was. And she got upset because, if it was me, if I did that, he would have been mad. But he can do it and I can't. Da, da, da. So she told him to delete it. He tells her that, in Islam, it's okay for a man to bare his chest, to show his body like that, but it's not okay for Tiger Lily. This is going to be your life. If you choose to be with this man, this is going to be your life. Y'all will constantly be bickering and going back and forth with, okay, but if I did this, how come you can do this, but this is going to be your life. If you don't understand what it is, this is going to be your life. So then, they got into an argument about that. They went back and forth about that. I'm just like, I don't understand. I don't understand. I don't get it. I really don't get it. I understand. What I do think is that I think Adnan is using his religion to control Tiger Lily and also to allow himself to do certain things. What I want to know is, and I'm just asking questions, y'all, because I'm ignorant to this. Is plural marriage still allowed in Islam? And if it is still allowed, have they talked about this? Tiger Lily and Adnan, if Adnan is going to take on additional wives? Have they discussed this? Because Tiger Lily and Adnan seem to have not discussed a whole bunch of stuff. And that's why they're having the issues that they're having now, because they refuse to talk about important things, and they keep on saying, "Oh, we'll talk about other things when they arise. We'll get there when we get there." Then when they get there, they're upset with each other and they're arguing. For me, Adnan is extremely immature. I don't think he's ready to be a husband. I know that Tiger Lily wants to be with a man who is dominant and who is controlling, I think, in some ways. But I don't think this is good for her. I don't think this is good for her. I think he's just too young and too immature to be a wife and a father to her children. I think he's too mature. I think this marriage should never have taken place. There's nothing endearing about Tiger Lily and Adnan to me. She's a grown woman and she's having arguments with someone who was just a teenager like 10 years ago. He was a teenager 5 years ago. What am I talking about? I think he's like 23 or something. He was a teenager 5 years ago. And, here she is having these constant arguments with this man child. I just don't understand why she wants to live like that. And I get the fact that she is absolutely in lust with him. She sees him as extremely good looking guy, and she is, lusting after him, throbbing after him, tingling after him. I understand that, but that is not what a marriage makes. Let's move on to Faith and Lauren. So they arrive in Faith's hometown. Faith and Lauren spend the day at the beach together before they go see her family. And Faith tells Lauren how hard her childhood was, how she had to leave home at the age of 13 to go work in Manila to support her family. Soon after that, her father passed away. So she's had a lot on her plate from a very young age. And Lauren says that he promises to take care of her and to take care of her family as much as he can. Then he asked her, "Are you going to tell your family that I'm your boyfriend?" And she, didn't really want to give an answer to that because she's still processing everything. And he asked her, "Are you going to tell them about what I did, cheating on you and getting gonorrhea?" And she was like, she's like, if the circumstances call for that, I might have to, but I don't know what I'm going to tell my family when I see them. She's still trying to figure things out with this guy. And I like the fact that she's taking her time and she's just not going to, jump at his beck and call and do whatever makes him happy. Thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it, y'all. On your way out, please don't forget to rate the video. If you like this content, subscribe to my channel. If you don't, then don't. But thank you for watching, and I will definitely talk to you later. Bye.